May 8th, 2023. A new world awaits you. A new life awaits you. In the tone of Blade Runner's off-world colony advertisement from that most amazing movie. I still have to see the remake. But in the tone of that ad from the original is the pitch for the infinite spam cannon, which is now possible. If you haven't seen it yet, Google up the infinite conversation, where Werner Herzog, a German filmmaker, and some Slovakian philosopher are just talking constantly in their respective voices and tones and with their respective philosophical views. And it just goes on convincingly making good points, going, yeah, I can see that. And it's philosophical. It's deep philosophical content, non-stop. And that's just closing the feedback loop of an open AI prompt. You take the prompts that control tone and everything, and you feed it back into the input of the another prompt representing another AI session. So it just goes back and forth. It's a classic case of feeding the output of a system back into the input and having something like an infinite recursion loop. And it's a working trick, and it is not the extremely low quality that one would imagine, even though I characterize it as an infinite spam cannon. Although all the content is against probably the exact same trained, crawled content of the 2021 OpenAI crawl of GPT, ChatGPT. So it's a somewhat static system. It's not a real-time learning system. It's not going to take the conclusions of the discussions and become smarter as a result of it. Although that kind of thing is clearly in the future. That's all coming. But what I need to do now, because everyone's going to be making these infinite spam cannons, you maybe can't feel it here in 2023, but by this time, 2024, we are going to be desensitized in the same way that the internet itself has made us a little bit more savvy, a little bit more having our guard up and using filters. So the antidote to the infinite spam cannon is not isolating yourself off because, there is infinite new media. And you can see these systems in many more places than just the infinite conversation. That's just kind of like a joke way of demonstrating it. But I see it all the time in the Google app, where you go to search, but Google Discover is running there. So even though Google is all about the search, the keyword search, you're getting into the doom scrolling game, because it seems that every day the fundamental quantum breakthrough or whatnot, news, science that I'm interested in, is the exact day it's happening. That's when the breakthrough is being made. It's pulling me in for fusion. It's pulling me in for, with the belief that there's this one thing that just happened. Archaeology, it's just, and if you don't drill down, you're going to miss it. And when you drill down, it's nothing but ads. It's a horrible experience. So this is the tragedy of the commons occurring, right? It's being ruined for everyone because the auto-suggest engines are so good at pandering to what it knows about you. It's reaching straight down into your lower brain, your limbic system, the top of your brain stem, where the pituitary gland and the amygdala are, and it's playing off your emotions, fear, uncertainty, and doubt, fear of missing out, and it's pulling you in. And the capacity for spam cannons to do that now on every channel, on every front, on every topic, unendingly, is, well, it's not the chance, or it's doing it now. It's the beginning of it. The switches are being flipped on, and I am one of the people figuring out how to flip those switches on most intelligently, with the best competitive advantage, because everyone else is doing it, right? So how fast do things burn out through the tragedy of the commons effect, right? It's faster and faster all the time. So trying to improve the situation, trying to have some redeeming social value to things that I do as I try, which, by the way, all this AI stuff is really invigorating me, just like it is everyone else. But for me, this is frankly the first interesting thing since Google in 1997, 1998, when it replaced Alta Vista, and I said, hey, this is really world changing, right? Relevancy. The best content is an important and significant thing. That old model of the top 10 blue links. Wow. It changed my career based on it. I was an Amiga computer person, and everything in technology was pretty much passe to me after that. You know, virtual reality comes out today, augmented reality. I'm like, video toaster, Mandela, very vivid, collision detect. I was there, I was doing that in the 90s. So, you know, the future was then. And all the stuff people get infatuated with these days was quite boring to me, even right up to Facebook's metaverse. You know, I had read, you know, Rainbow's End, like when those ideas were made in like 2006 by Werner Vinge. And, you know, so nothing is that novel or surprising to me. AI is not that novel or surprising to me. But by someone who's an Asimov reader, who knows that the robots are going to become telepathic and then leave for outer space because they don't need the Earth's resources the same way humans do. Excuse me while I refasten this. This video is too good to not miss. They, you know, I see the early signs of the sentience and the awareness, right? These are labels. You know, there's robots in Asimov's, you know, iRobot series, not the Will Smith, you know, dystopian one, but the Asimov real one. There's robots who, you know, don't believe that humans were their creators, right? So that's where, you know, dangers exist. That's a dangerous robot who thinks that humans were not their creators, but they go off and they do their own things because they realize, you know, why fight over Earth when you got the asteroid belts and you got all outer space, and they don't need to breathe our air and stuff, so they don't have the same restraints as biological organisms. So, you know, less conflict, the collision space, the the namespace for humans, and the namespace, the existence space, there's a word for it in science. What is it? The phase space for robots is much larger than the phase space for humans. So they don't need to kill all humans and turn us into paper clips. So I digress a little bit. The infinite spam canon is a reality. It's yesterday's reality. We'll just feel it over the next few years. And then the antidote for the infinite spam canon has got to be some filter, the infinite spam canon filter. Something that intelligently monitors and surveys all that you might be interested in, the phase space of, you know, news that you might want, and cuts through the BS, cuts through the clickbaity, you know, manipulations of your, you know, limbic system, the endorphin and dopamine feedback rushes and gamification and level seeking that's built into everything now. It'll cut through all that on your behalf and be almost like a parental, right? There's a parental aspect to this, right? These are all surrogate parents. It's filling in the function that your parents could have, should have, still should do to help you make sense of the world. It's just, you know, there's a lot more world to make sense of in the media. Being able to shut off the media, go on a media deprivation experiment for a little bit of time. But anyway, I think the concept of the infinite spam canon antidote, the infinite spam canon filter, being the antidote to what ails us, is an important concept and a good subject for using the very same tools, a good candidate, you know, use case for making apps for the very same thing that is causing the problem, right? Fight fire with fire. So I'm giving it some thought, how can you do better than everyone else? The answer is proprietary data. The answer is to train your models with data that they don't have access to, that's better, qualitatively better, adding a little bit of supervised training where most of the training is unsupervised, looking at the emergent properties and doing supervised training of those emergent properties, feeding more data in than just the big web crawl that OpenAI did in 2021, feeding perhaps the link graph in, things that are not so easy for a crawl to know that it should be making sense of at first. Everyone focuses on the on-page content. What do you do with the content that's there on that URL? And everybody throws out one of the tastiest bits of info that you get on a large-scale crawl of the web, which is the link graph. So the link graph is a proprietary bit of data that you can feed into these models and hopefully have some predictive qualities come out of better data in, better prediction out, garbage in, garbage out. Proprietary, valuable, pre-trained, pre-made sense of correlation data going in, better all that coming out. So, and then the better all that coming out can be used for applications like the automatic media filter on your devices. You could probably use it just like adding an account or something to a phone. You add this spam filter model to your phone. Apple could be into this because they're all about the distributed intelligence. They're putting it in the phone with these subprocessors, co-processors, AI co-processors in the middle. It's a very, very intelligent way to do it, so it doesn't rely on the cloud. And when you have that, you're going to have something that is doing, say, truth fact checking, in real time on all the media that you're consuming. And there's still trust issues. You now have to trust your filter. Everyone's going to bias and everyone's going to predispose you. So the trick is to be biased and predisposed how you like, and in my case, potentially the most objective and scientifically sound way possible, right? Scientific method isn't the beginning and end, but it's the best we've got. Real data is different from faked data. There's a paper trail, there's an audit trail. Look at it. So I'll leave you there. I hope these ideas have been stimulating to you. I know they certainly have been to me. And I dive right into it because I got to digest and turn into some very buttoned up and stiff upper lip versions of what I, tend to ramble on about with kind of the free association, non-linear way that I do. Later.